Hello and welcome to the video that shows the real story of our utopia. Well, so let's get right into it. So the first faction we're going to see is the Assassins. But first, our motto is, once you enter, you never want to leave. One of the reasons is you can't. So we go to the Assassins, and the Assassins take out people, help bring people to the middle city. And so we go down here. They have an underground hut, and all the beds are together because nobody sleeps by themselves in this utopian society. And we have maps for the new people that have never explored this, so they can get the lay of the land. Anyway, let's go look at our first utopian area. So this place is very different from a lot of other factions that we have. This one, I don't mean to offend anybody, but if I do, I'm very sorry about this. The faction is the women, and this is where all the women stay. And so this volcano here, it has children and babies inside there. And if I flip that lever, it will open up doors and release them, which I'm not gonna do. But it would be chaos, and that's only happens if the women aren't working. So as long as they're working, they'll be fine. So that's the women and the Assassins, I guess. On to the next faction. Now we are in the Builders faction, and this is the Master Builder's hut. The Master Builder has to be isolated because he designs all the builds that builders do. So he can't have any distractions, and he needs just time by himself so he can work. And that's why he has fancy doors. Okay. Anyway, the rest of the builders stay in this hut, and they get bunk beds, which is nice, but they have storage areas, little crafting areas. And then we have a big storage area for them to use, which they really don't have much right now, but they'll probably get some soon. So that's the Builders faction. On to the next one. So this is the Farmers faction, and it's a huge plot of land because they are going to expand as people come in. So you have a storage area, you have the farm area that's not being used right now, you have the animals, you have an animal farm over there, and then you have the living quarters, which is pretty big because there are a decent amount of farmers. And you're probably wondering, what's this grass for? Well, the grass is meant to help people's minds just focus on nature, and the grass just makes people happy, even though they're living in a pretty much a world that doesn't give them a lot of options to do things. The grass helps. So that's it for the farmers. So on to the next faction. This next faction is the Hunters faction, which is a smaller faction than all the others. They hunt animals and get the food and give it to the capital. And so we have the little storage area, I guess, for their weapons and ammo and things. And then we have the living quarters, which has a tree right down the middle, or in the house. And it's not very big because not a lot of people hunt in this utopian society. So that's pretty much. Oh, and the trees are for. The trees are meant for the hunters to use so they can get a good vantage point and be able to shoot animals and be able to get the meat easier, and to stay away from vicious creatures that could attack them. So that is the hunters. On to the next one. This is the final faction, but not the final destination. So this is the miners faction. The miners faction is a really big area because they mine, and they have little railways set up by the builders because they have such a big area to cover, and it just makes it easier to transport goods and everything. So they've got carts, and we've got storage room right here. We got the living quarters here, and it's huge because we have a lot of miners. So that's not the final destination. On to our final destination, the capital city. This is our final destination, and this is the capital city. This tower leads up to the wall, which I'll show you later. Anyway, the first thing is we've got living quarters, which are a lot nicer than other factions, and there's not as many people in there. It's just less cramped. Everybody has a little bit more room, and it just looks nicer. Then we have this building, which can be like a worship area, and then the bottom is a soon-to-be storage area. They're not using it right now because they don't need it, but they will eventually. And the restaurant, this is the restaurant. This is where everybody in the capital gets their food. So we go down into the kitchen. We've got the stoves, and we've got chests full of materials. So they hand cook everything and hand bake it. So they make bread from the wheat. They cook the beef, and they have a special recipe that I can't tell you. And then we have the ale, that if people want to drink it, if they're feeling a little stressed or something like that. So we move on to the Capitol building. And the Capitol building is meant for discussions about who's going to get into the capital city this year, or how their life compared to other people, and deciding which faction is the best out of the 6 factions that we have. And so the final room technically is the torture room, and the torture room is a major component of our utopia. So if people don't do their work, or they murder somebody or something completely inhumane, then they come down to the torture room, and their family is chopped up into little pieces, like chopped off their limbs, chopped off everything, and then they are burned right in front of that person that did something wrong. And then that person has to eat and drink them as a final meal. And then the offender is chopped up into pieces. And then he's put on he's sliced and stuff. Then he's put on a spinner, and they throw throwing daggers at him, and the last one hits him in the groin. And then he lays on the guillotine for hours and hours. And then only then, when he's waiting for death, will his head be chopped off by somebody, and then the rest of his body is just burnt and his head is taking up to the top of the wall. So we go upstairs, and you will see little heads right here, and those are people's heads that have been killed. And then after a year of these heads being up here, they are thrown down for the poor to eat, and it's just gruesome. And we have our bodyguards up here, so you can tell if it's almost been a year. So this head's probably gonna be thrown down soon because it's pretty old. And yes, that's pretty much it for our Utopian Society. That's our Utopian Society. I hope you got a better insight on what our Utopian Society actually is. And thank you for watching, I guess. And see you later.